The Feisty Little Dragon.
Once upon a time, high up in the misty mountains where the clouds kissed the peaks and eagles soared through the sky, there lived a little dragon named Spark. Spark was not like the other dragons. He was very, very small. While the other dragons were as big as houses, with powerful wings and fierce roars, Spark was only as big as a large dog. He had bright red scales that shimmered like rubies in the sunlight, tiny wings that fluttered fast like a hummingbird, golden eyes that sparkled with determination, and a little puff of smoke that came out of his nose whenever he got excited or upset. Spark lived in a cozy cave halfway up the tallest mountain with his best friend, a wise old owl named Oliver. Oliver had soft gray feathers, big amber eyes that saw everything, and a kind heart that understood everyone. Oliver had found Spark when he was just a baby dragon, all alone and scared, and had raised him like his own son. They were a perfect pair, even though one was a dragon and one was an owl, and even though they looked completely different from each other. Every day, Spark would practice being a dragon. He would try to breathe big flames of fire, but only tiny sparks would come out, which is how he got his name. He would try to roar loudly like the big dragons, but his roars sounded more like a squeaky hiccup. He would flap his little wings as hard as he could, trying to fly high and fast, but he could only flare a few feet off the ground before getting tired. This made Spark very frustrated and sad. "Why am I so small, Oliver?" Spark would ask every night before bed. "Why can't I be big and strong like a real dragon? Why can't I breathe real fire, or roar like thunder, or fly high in the sky?" Oliver would ruffle his feathers gently and say in his wise, soothing voice, "My dear Spark, being different doesn't mean being less. You have your own special gifts, even if you haven't discovered them yet. Sometimes the smallest creatures can do the biggest things. You just need to be patient and believe in yourself." But Spark found it hard to believe Oliver's words. He felt too small, too weak, and too different. The other dragons who lived in the mountains would sometimes fly past our cave, and when they saw Spark, they would laugh and call out, "Look at the tiny dragon! He's no bigger than a rabbit! What kind of dragon breathes sparkles instead of fire?" Their teasing made Spark feel even worse about himself, and he would hide in the back of the cave, too embarrassed to come out. One sunny morning, everything changed. Spark and Oliver were sitting outside their cave, enjoying the warm sunshine and eating breakfast. Oliver was munching on berries while Spark was trying to roast a fish with his tiny sparks. Suddenly, they heard a sound that made them both freeze. It was a cry for help, and it was coming from the valley far below. "Help! Somebody help me, please!" The voice was small and frightened. Oliver's sharp eyes looked down into the valley, and he gasped, "Spark! There's a little girl down there, and she's in terrible danger!" Spark rushed to the edge of the cliff and looked down. Far, far below, he could see a little human girl with golden hair and a blue dress. Her name was Lily, and she lived in the village at the bottom of the mountain. Lily had been picking wildflowers when she had wandered too close to a dangerous part of the mountain. Now she was trapped on a narrow ledge that was crumbling beneath her feet. Below the ledge was a long, long drop into a rocky canyon. If the ledge broke completely, Lily would fall. "We have to help her," Spark cried out, his little heart beating fast with worry. "I'll go get the big dragons," Oliver said, spreading his wings. "They're strong enough to rescue her." But just then, a large piece of the ledge broke away with a loud crack. Lily screamed and pressed herself against the mountain wall, crying with fear. There was no time to get the big dragons. They lived on the other side of the mountain, and it would take too long to reach them. Lily needed help right now, or she would fall. "There's no time, Oliver," Spark said, and before Oliver could stop him, the little dragon spread his tiny wings and jumped off the cliff. His heart was pounding with fear, but he knew he had to try. Lily needed him, and even though he was small and different, he was still a dragon, and dragons helped people in trouble. Spark flapped his little wings as hard and as fast as he could. The wind rushed past his face, and for the first time in his life, he wasn't thinking about being too small or too weak. He was only thinking about saving Lily. Down, down, down he flew, faster than he had ever flown before. His tiny wings beat so quickly, they were just a blur of red. When Spark reached the crumbling ledge, he saw Lily's frightened face. She was only about 7 years old, with tears streaming down her cheeks and her hands gripping the rock so tightly her knuckles were white. Don't be afraid, Spark called out in his squeaky voice. I'm here to help you. Lily looked at the little dragon with wide, surprised eyes. But you're so small, she said through her tears. How can you carry me? I'll be too heavy for you. Spark felt a moment of doubt. Lily was right. She was much bigger than him, and his wings were so tiny, but then he remembered Oliver's words. Sometimes the smallest creatures can do the biggest things. Spark took a deep breath and puffed out his little chest bravely. I may be small, Spark said with determination in his voice, but I'm still a dragon, and I'm going to save you. Trust me, Lily. Please trust me. Something in Spark's golden eyes made Lily believe him. She nodded and carefully reached out her arms. Spark flew as close as he could to the ledge and positioned himself under Lily. Climb onto my back and hold on tight, he instructed. Lily carefully climbed onto Spark's back and wrapped her arms gently around his neck. She was indeed heavy, much heavier than anything Spark had ever tried to carry before. The moment her weight settled onto him, Spark's wings trembled and he began to sink toward the canyon below. I'm too heavy, Lily cried. You can't do it. Let me go before we both fall. No, Spark said fiercely, and that's when his feisty spirit kicked in. Feisty meaning being full of courage and determination, never giving up even when things are really hard.
We're gonna fall!
Spark flapped his little wings as hard and as fast as he could. His little wings beat so quickly they were just a blur of red. His muscles burned with effort, and he could feel himself shaking from the strain, but he didn't give up. Slowly, inch by inch, Spark began to rise. It was the hardest thing he had ever done in whole life. Every flap of his wings felt like lifting a mountain. Sweat dripped down his scaly forehead, and his breath came in short gasps, but Spark kept going. He thought about how scared Lily was. He thought about Oliver believing in him. He thought about wanting to be brave and helpful, not for glory or praise, but because it was the right thing to do. You can do it, little dragon, Lily whispered encouragingly in his ear. I believe in you. Those words gave Spark new strength. Up and up they climbed through the air. Spark's tiny wings never stopped beating, never slowed down, never gave up. His determination was stronger than his small size. His courage was bigger than his little body. Finally, after what felt like forever, but was really only a few minutes, Spark reached the top of the cliff, where Oliver was waiting anxiously. The moment Spark's feet touched solid ground, he gently let Lily slide off his back, and then he collapsed, completely exhausted. His wings ached, his whole body trembled, and he could barely keep his eyes open. Oliver rushed over and spread his wing over Spark protectively. You did it, my brave little Spark. You saved her.
Thank you.
Lily knelt down beside Spark with tears of happiness running down her face. Thank you, thank you, thank you, she said, gently stroking Spark's head. You saved my life. You're the bravest dragon I've ever met. But I'm so small, Spark whispered tiredly. I'm not strong like the big dragons. You're not small where it matters most, Lily said, placing her hand over her heart. You're huge, right here, in your heart. You're the biggest hero I know. Just then, they heard the sound of powerful wings. The big dragons had heard about the emergency and came flying over the mountain. When they landed and saw little Spark lying exhausted on the ground with Lily safe beside him, they couldn't believe their eyes.
What happened here?
Asked the biggest dragon, whose name was Magnus. Oliver told them the whole story, about how Lily had been trapped, about how there was no time to get help, and about how tiny Spark had flown down and carried her to safety all by himself, even though she was much bigger and heavier than him. The big dragons looked at Spark with amazement and respect. Magnus, who had sometimes laughed at Spark for being small, bowed his great head.
I was wrong about you, little Spark. I thought being big and strong was the only way to be a good dragon. But you've shown me the true courage and heroism come from the heart, not from size. You are braver than any of us because you tried even when you thought you might fail. Will you forgive me for teasing you?
Spark, still tired, but feeling warm and happy inside, nodded. Of course I forgive you, he said with a little smile. From that day forward, everything changed for Spark. He was no longer teased or laughed at. Instead, he became known throughout all the mountains as Spark the Brave, the feisty little dragon who proved that heroes come in all sizes. Lily visited him often, bringing him treats and telling everyone in her village about the amazing little dragon who saved her life. But the most important change was inside Spark himself. He finally understood what Oliver had been trying to teach him all along. Being small didn't make him less valuable. Being different didn't make him less important. His tiny sparks of fire, his squeaky roar, and his little wings were perfect for him because they were his. He learned to love himself exactly as he was, not wishing to be someone else, but proud to be Spark.
Wow, look at this
Spark
place.
continued to have
I'm
many
so happy
adventures
we're
with
doing
Oliver
this
and
together.
Lily. His small size actually helped him do things the big dragons couldn't do. He could fly into tight spaces to rescue trapped animals. His little sparks were perfect for lighting candles and campfires gently without burning things. His quiet roar didn't scare baby animals when he needed to help them. And his determination and feisty spirit inspired everyone who met him to be brave and never give up. Oliver would often sit with Spark on warm evenings, watching the sunset paint the sky in beautiful colors. I'm proud of you, my son, not because you saved Lily, though that was wonderful. I'm proud because you finally learned to believe in yourself. Spark would snuggle close to his dear friend and say, "Thank you for never giving up on me, Oliver. You taught me that being small on the outside doesn't mean being small on the inside." And so, dear children, remember the story of Spark the Feisty Little Dragon. Remember that being different is not something to be ashamed of. It's something to celebrate. You don't need to be the biggest, the strongest, or the loudest to be important and valuable. What matters is having courage in your heart, being kind to others, never giving up even when things are hard, and believing in yourself even when others doubt you. Just like Spark, you have special gifts that are uniquely yours, and the world needs exactly who you are. Be feisty, be brave, and always remember that heroes come in all shapes and sizes. If you enjoyed this wonderful story about Spark, the feisty little dragon, please remember to subscribe to our channel. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss another amazing adventure. Share this story with your friends and family, and remember that you are special and brave just the way you are. Being different makes you wonderful, and being small doesn't mean you can't do big things. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next story. Bye.